Hello.
Hello.
D&D. How did it go last night?
Okay, what Jeff is referring to is that I played D&D. We did a one-shot with this group of people I'm joining. I don't know how. I don't know how I know you yet, but we're on an adventure together.
Yeah, we're going to have to sort that out. It was pretty fun.
Uh-huh.
It was just a prologue, so we're just getting used to playing again and
Again, this is like I have
getting
very,
used to
very
each
limited
other.
experience playing.
Yeah.
So
I don't think any of us are like super veteran players really, but yeah. So there should be more coming at some point we can talk about, but for now we're just in development and trying to figure it out.
my character's name is Kins.
No last name yet.
No, just
Yeah.
Kins.
My character doesn't have a last name, but we'll see if yours does.
Well,
and
I
we just
tried
need
to like come up with a last name, but I was not satisfied with anything.
Brightfoot,
No.
Bright Eyes.
Heard about.
You have a theme song. Yes, classic.
Yeah. It rained all day today.
And a lot of yesterday, but yeah, really today all day.
Yeah.
Crazy. I made soup.
Mm-hmm.
It was very hot, temperature hot.
Yeah, definitely.
Made bacon and eggs for breakfast. That was fun.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Pretty loungeabout day. We watched a lot of The Mandalorian.
The Mandalorian. Oh,
No spoilers.
No spoilers, but Baby Yoda every time. Every time Baby Yoda's on the screen, I just want to well, I always tell Winston that he has competition because Baby Yoda is super. I said his name. He got up. Uh-oh.
No, it's going
he's
to lay
fine.
down.
He's fine. Okay.
Yeah, made perfect. What else is going on? What's up this week?
It's finals week for me, so I have just like infinite meetings because everyone wants to work right now, and I'm just like, y'all, we had the year of our lives. Can't we just like chill out, max and relax and all cool?
Yeah, this is the final chapter of a crazy book. Like, let's take it easy a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know.
The climax
I feel
was
like there's very
November.
few people who I work with that are of that vibe.
Yeah.
Where I'm at right now. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's fine.
Still likely to be many months of struggle and difficult educational circumstances for sure for both of us.
Definitely.
But we're back at it.
Mm-hmm.
Should we get into it?
Yeah, sure.
Juan's ready. Where do I want to put this?
The chapter begins with a synopsis.
No. Turn to page 211,
Darn it.
the Firebolt. Today's lesson is called Flight and Fight. A synopsis.
Okay, I did it wrong.
Hard no. The chapter begins with Harry reeling from the news that Sirius Black had betrayed his parents. Ron and Hermione try to console a furious Harry who wants to seek out Black for revenge. In an attempt to change the subject, Ron suggests they visit Hagrid, who they find inconsolable over a ministry decision to execute Buckbeak. The trio successfully help Hagrid calm himself as he recalls his terrible experience in Azkaban. They agree to help him protect Buckbeak legally and spend some of their holiday time researching to that end. On Christmas Day, Harry awakens to an astonishing and anonymous gift, a firebolt. Stunned, Harry and Ron plan to take the broom out later that day, but first the trio join a small holiday meal with many of the professors and only a few students. After the dinner, Hermione consults Professor McGonagall, who intercepts Ron and Harry and confiscates the broom under suspicion that it was sent by Sirius Black. Cowabunga. What were your thoughts?
So at the very beginning of the chapter, Harry's kind of like spiraling. So there's like a quote in there that I picked out. Well, I don't think I finished the full quote, but it starts off saying, "Why had nobody ever told him? Dumbledore, Hagrid, Mr. Weasley, Cornelius Fudge." And so that's why earlier I asked you, like, wouldn't it be like publication or knowledge from the wizarding world that Sirius Black was best friends with James and Lily Potter?
Yeah.
Because basically what's happening is not only is Harry frustrated with the actual news, but also the fact that none of the adults the many adults that he has crossed paths with have bothered to even let him in on that little detail
Yeah.
that seems to him entirely consequential.
I wonder, as you're talking, if there was a Quibbler
Mm.
article or two that said Sirius Black actually innocent.
Mm. Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's probably well known, but people probably don't care. I don't know.
Hmm.
It also seems like the ministry tries to hush it up for some reason.
Oh
Like,
man, yes.
yeah.
So like, okay, we'll get back to fudge in a second, but so there's a few callbacks to things in the past. So the first callback that I noticed was the photo album that Hagrid gave Harry at the end of his first year.
Yeah.
So Harry, in his like, I don't know, sense making and grief, is like trying to he's like looking at it, and because like he doesn't know any of these people, he doesn't know anyone, but now he has this lens, and then he's just kind of like looking at Sirius.
There's even, yeah, J.K. Rowling even like kind of does that where he's like his mom and dad and this person he never paid any attention to. But
Hmm.
like he didn't really think about, because there's such a foreground of his parents that the other people are just irrelevant in some sense to him.
Yeah. And going off of that, it's really interesting. I noticed that Peter Pettigrew was pointed out in this like Harry inner monologue in his head, and he was described as resembling Neville Longbottom. So yeah, those eyes. So
Quibbler article.
it just made me think about how like so much is driven by perceptions, and so like he doesn't know any of these people, but it's like, oh hey, this dude looks like Neville. He probably doesn't even think twice about this guy named Peter Pettigrew. But how so much of our interactions or the ways that we perceive people are based on like whatever it is, like references to what we know. So if we go all the way back to Draco Malfoy, yeah, Draco's kind of snarky, but it's this thing that carries through.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what Draco says or does to Harry, even though Draco's pretty consistently awful to Harry.
Yeah.
But it just kind of reifies that impression that just doesn't seem to go away.
Speaking of Draco, I like that moment when Harry's like, Draco said, like, if it was me, and Ron's like, what, you're gonna take
Oh,
his advice
man.
over us? And I was
Yeah.
like,
Ron is so
yeah, Ron, get it.
I really like Ron in this chapter. When they go
Makes tea.
yes. So the one of the first things is that Harry, Ron, and Hermione are all here for the holiday at Hogwarts for the
Yeah, yeah.
holidays. There's a couple other students, a couple first years, and a
Derek.
fifth year. Derek. I remember I looked him. I was
Who's
like, "Who's
Derek?"
Derek?"
It's like from The Good Place.
Yeah,
It's Derek.
a fifth year Slytherin students there and a bunch of teachers. But when Ron and Hermione are trying to convince Harry, like when he first steps out, Harry in his head is like, oh, he could tell that they rehearsed this conversation.
Yeah,
and
right. I know.
They're
It's
just
very
they're
sweet.
just really sweet. But yeah, Ron making a cup of tea because that's what his mom does when someone's upset, when they
Classic.
go visit Hagrid.
That's-
and Hagrid's
it's
upset.
perfect. It's
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's like, I don't know what to do. Let me make some tea.
Right.
And he does too, which is the best part. It's not like he just says it. He like actually makes the tea, and
Mhm.
because then like right after that, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
steaming cup of tea or whatever.
Yeah. The second callback is also related to Hagrid.
Mm.
And we saw a little bit about this before when they started talking about the Dementors, but Hagrid's callback to the previous book where he got sent to Azkaban.
Yeah,
Very
it
briefly.
was sad.
Yeah.
It was sad. The whole description was sad.
Well, because he got scarred, and so he's talking about his like personal things that none of
Because he
them
says,
really knew about.
I never want to break the law again or whatever.
Yeah,
he says
so
it,
like
yeah.
getting expelled from Hogwarts was a memory that. So he was talking about like these cycles of, Dementors are supposed to bring out your worst memories
Norbert.
and make you feel like you don't want to live and whatever.
Mhm.
The day his dad died,
Mhm.
also, those were the three that he mentioned. And my question as I was reading this, well, not only are we going back to the conversation about Fudge being all like, oh, hey, we're just going to send you to
Fudgy.
Azkaban, and if you're innocent, then we'll apologize.
It's an
Like,
outrageous
it's so
sign
outrageous.
of things that to come.
So I was interested because I was like, wait a second, there's no like holding jail or like
Right, I
anything
know.
in between. just like straight to
Oh my
Azkaban.
gosh. Federal penitentiary.
The rationale was like, oh, so you don't cause any more trouble. That is, unless you're innocent. Because other people had this question online too of like, was Hagrid ever supposed to have a trial, or was it just like automatic, like, hey,
You would have just been in there.
we're just gonna keep you or
Yeah.
whatever. And I think because we talked a lot about circumstantial evidence in the last book. And so circumstantial, it's not like direct, but it's kind of you're tying these pieces together to make some sort of inference. And
Right.
because Hagrid had a connection to the Chamber of Secrets before, which is connected to his expulsion and all of that, there was this sort of like it didn't even matter. It was just like,
Right.
okay, we'll just authority strike down. And the quote from Chamber of Secrets was Fudge saying, "For a short stretch only. Not a punishment, Hagrid. More a precaution. If someone else is caught, you'll be let out with a full apology." I want to know what the apology was, bro.
All apologies.
Because now you have Hagrid, who is he went to Azkaban for a very brief amount of time, got scarred, and is haunted by these Dementors, and
Yeah.
is remembering.
Apparently, there's no
them.
tort law where like you can't sue. Maybe there is.
Yeah. Well, Hagrid doesn't have that position of power.
No,
like
he
the
wouldn't even
Malfoys.
try. Yeah.
Mhm.
I wonder. Yeah. So then Buckbeak is going on, and that's going to be a whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Leading
It's
up to something new.
Yeah, it just is very frustrating.
Yeah.
What was the committee name or whatever?
Oh,
Disposal
yeah.
of magical creatures.
The
or
disposal of
creatures?
dangerous creatures, which is part of the Department of Regulation
Yeah.
and Control of Magical Creatures.
It's
Which,
disgusting.
because what he was saying is like, and this makes sense, like in the context, or I can understand this. And he was basically like, you don't know, they basically like love it. They love what they do, and it's
Right.
it's so
They're
disturbing.
enthusiastic about it as
Yeah.
opposed to reluctant.
Right.
Yeah. I think it's then there was the other thing that I really liked, which was I forget what the legal term. Hermione was like hippogriff baiting or
Yes,
something.
hippogriff baiting is the
It was
term.
kind of neat.
Mm-hmm.
It really makes it feel like the world is really alive. Like the
Yeah.
idea that there would have been a different scenario under which like a hippogriff was being sentenced,
Yeah.
and then there was a case where it was like, no, it was baited into doing this
Right.
damage.
Yeah, because they were doing all sorts of research. There was like a manticore one,
Mhm.
which they were like, oh, they just didn't want to get close to the manticore. But yeah, definitely that there's this history. And I loved how they wanted to try to help. And they're like, let's help you make an art. They're like, what, 12, 13 years old? Let's
Mhm.
make an argument or help you build an argument for your case.
Mock trial.
We're lawyers here.
Mhm. Mhm.
Oh, man. I don't want to keep going, but
No, go, what do you got?
the next thing that I have is the Firebolt.
Mhm.
The Firebolt is arrives to Harry on Christmas morning, among other things, like another sweater from Mrs. Weasley, which is really sweet,
I love
and all
sweaters,
those like
so I'm all
little
there for it.
pies and stuff. So I looked up a bit about the Firebolt from wizardingworld.com, and so previously we knew that there was the Nimbus 2000, that was Harry's broom, and then we have the Nimbus 2001, which is like, oh, the new cutting edge thing. But the Firebolt, from their reaction and very brief like back and forth, is this like premier top thing that is expensive and really good.
Yeah.
So the Nimbus Racing Broom Company previously dominated the competition. So those two broomsticks that I mentioned are like the models that everyone wanted. And then out of nowhere, well, not out of nowhere, there's actually a deeper history with this, but the Firebolt knocked them from their number one spot within 12 months of its release. It was a top secret project developed by Randolph Spudmore, who was son of Abel Spudmore of Ellerby, and Spudmore, the dad, produced the Tinderblast in 1940 and the Swiftstick in 1952. So it's like in the family, but those never took off. And so there's this top secret project, and Randolph was the first to use goblin-made ironwork, and the secrets of which are not fully understood. And so that supposedly gave the Firebolt additional stability and power in adverse weather conditions, and a special non-slip foot grip, which was very useful to Quidditch players.
Interesting.
Yeah. Um,
Hmm.
Harry is one of the first to own this broom.
Well, I remember, I think it's been months now since we
Uh-huh.
read the chapter, but I think when he's stuck in Diagon Alley, he spends a lot of time like
Yes.
looking at the Firebolt and being like, this is
Yes.
so extravagantly expensive. Like,
Yes.
can't get it.
Apparently he went to go look at it like every day or
And
something.
he was like, I'll spend all of my parents' money,
I don't care. I don't care that I'm rich,
but
but
I'll have this broom.
I'll only have the broom.
Mhm.
It continues to be made in relatively small quantities, partly because the goblin workers involved in the patent ironwork are prone to strikes and
Nice,
walkouts at the
nice.
smallest
I love
provocation.
that. That's great. That's great.
Yeah, I like. There's a lot about broomstick information and history in Quidditch Through the Ages,
Sure.
which I remember browsing through, but I don't know all the details.
As you were
of it.
talking, it reminded me, we don't have to get into it, but it reminded me of I think we talked about Pepsi and Coca-Cola.
Oh man, I got stuff to say about Pepsi and Coca-Cola.
It was in the Malcolm Gladwell
It was.
book. Yeah.
So
that's how it came
basically,
up.
well, just very briefly, so this even says original taste.
Mhm.
But so like it was in the section about like market research and basically like findings from like different psychological studies and whatever, I guess, whatever category you put this in, marketing, branding, etc., that the marketing and branding is very important for the interpretation of the product. It doesn't matter how good the product
Right.
is, like if it's shaped or skewed. So part of the Pepsi and Coca-Cola, like the rise of Pepsi, I guess if I will say, or like the struggle with that is that they were thinking that it was the formula that like, oh well, maybe if we tweak this. But actually, what was happening is that Pepsi was getting really good at their marketing and getting people like Michael Jackson and just celebrity pop stars to basically market their product. And so people had a different like affinity towards it.
There was also something which was kind of neat about the way they were studying taste preference,
Mm.
and that Pepsi was sweeter, maybe it still is, and so in a very small like
Yep.
tasting, really like it, but over the course of a full can or
Right.
serving, it becomes a little
Larger
bit more
quantity.
cloying.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very interesting because so the whole time I was thinking about like the ways that companies or schools or whatever collect data and make sense of it. And so
Right.
like when you're trying to strive for these larger sets but then don't understand those nuances to make sense of like or think about like, oh, I'm just not tasting like a little tiny bit. Like consumers are actually going to drink a whole can.
Right.
What
right,
does that
right,
do?
right, right.
So,
Anyway,
yeah.
that was it just made me think about that.
Mhm. Mhm.
So then there's dinner.
There's dinner. Oh, before dinner, right before
Uh.
dinner, the sneakoscope comes out
Hmm.
again as another like, oh hey, this is still here. Maybe it'll be relevant later. Well, because I think is it both times Crookshanks is also in there
Mhm.
and like attacking Scabbers. But yeah, then they go down for dinner.
Mhm.
Do you have
Mhm.
something there?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. So I mean, so we have 12 people,
Mm.
and it's kind of nice, little chat. Derek is there,
Derek.
and then Professor Trelawney comes. So this is what I looked up
Yes.
because I really like
looked
this.
this up too, but you go and see if we found the same things.
Well, her saying
Yeah.
when she says like, when
When
13 dine together, the first to rise will be the first to die.
Yep.
What did you look up
Well,
about
no,
it?
did you look up the historical
No,
context
what
of
did
it?
you look up?
I
No, I
looked-
looked up other stuff. You hit me with it.
Well, there is a feature on Wizarding World called 7 Times Professor Trelawney Got It Right.
Mhm.
So we probably found the same thing.
No, I didn't look at that.
Oh, okay.
No.
So basically, for this instance, it was labeled as more of a superstition than a prediction, but accidentally, she was right. I don't know. Are
Is
we
she
saying,
right?
Are we saying spoilers right now?
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Okay, so when she looks at the table, there's 12 people that she
Right,
sees, and
right.
she would be the 13th to sit
Right.
down. However, Scabbers is in Ron's pocket. So technically, it could be a table of 13 that is sitting there.
Uh-huh.
If that's what we're counting. If we're counting
So
Scabbers
she would be the
as
14th.
So she would be the 14th.
Yeah, but who's the first person to leave the table?
Dumbledore.
Oh, does he get up?
He gets up.
Oh,
He gets up to give her the seat.
rip.
So that was, and that's all. And
Rip
so I
Albus.
saw this theory, like, I don't know, it was on some like forum thing. And then when I kept searching. Then I saw the Wizarding World piece, and it says exactly that. It says, what does it say? The first person, if you only give this section of the book a quick read without much thought, you'd be forgiven for thinking she got this one spectacularly wrong. However, look a little bit closer, you'll see that Ron constantly carried scabbards in his pocket due to the looming threat of Crookshanks, and seeing that the rat was actually, spoiler, that made 13 at the table before Trelawney sat down.
Interesting.
Albus Dumbledore was the first to rise when he greeted her, and he was indeed the first of that group to die. Like,
That's
that
funny.
paragraph is literally on Wizarding World, so I'm like, there you have it.
I
They're
love that
counting
very
it.
much. That's great. I kind of looked up something tangential to this. So, like, yes, it's a superstition, but it made me start thinking about phrases, because it was just like, we don't really have that. I don't think, like, even as a superstition, as Muggles, I never heard
Well,
of
I
it.
think in general 13 is considered unlucky, but I
Sure.
haven't heard a table
Sure.
one
So I think she's
specifically.
playing off that, though. I don't know that she. Yeah, I think she made it up.
I
But
don't know.
anyway.
Some people connected it to the Bible, though.
Oh, okay.
But
Well,
I
there
don't
you
know,
go.
But
But anyway, I looked up phrases and idioms in the Wizarding World. So I thought maybe we
Ooh.
could talk about a couple. There were a bunch that I thought you would get, like, really easily, because they're
So it's
just
a quiz?
clear not necessarily, but they're just clear translations between, like,
okay.
it was like a bow truckle in a thing of twigs,
yeah,
and it's
bird
like a
in a-
needle in a haystack.
Oh, needle in the haystack, yeah.
Bird in
I
the
was
bush,
thinking
yeah.
bird in a hand.
Or like Merlin's beard, and like,
Great Scott.
yeah, and like son of a bludger, and this type of stuff. It was kind of neat. So here's a couple that I thought I liked more, or I thought would be fun to talk about. Clear as a demiguise in hiding.
Clear as day? No. Clear as a demiguise in hiding.
Yeah, what do you think that means?
Um,
It's not necessarily like clear as day. That's basically what it means. Yeah.
Well, because demiguises are invisible, or can be
When it's
invisible
hiding,
when
it's like
hiding.
perfectly clear. So
Yeah.
that's what it means. Very clear was the claim. A Dementor attack is, I don't think you would get this one, but it sometimes is used as a metaphor for depression, which is interesting. Do we know that?
We
Did you know
talked
that?
about this
Did
briefly,
we?
I thought.
Okay,
Or
well, there
maybe,
you
I
go.
don't know. Maybe it was on
Maybe
one of
you
my
read it or
Wizard PhD
something.
episodes. I don't know.
Good one. Don't count your owls before they are delivered.
Don't count your chickens before they're hatched.
Yeah. So that's the play, but yeah, that's a good one. There's a bunch kind of in that vein. So, but I just like that one the most. Fell off the back of a broom. Any guess there? You might not have ever heard this sort of Muggle phrase that's like it, but it's like fell off the back of a truck.
Oh.
So it's like stolen goods or like things like that. Yeah. So the person who I think says that is Mundungus, I'm pretty sure. Here's one that you would not know, but I thought was neat. I'll take Cadogan's pony. And it roughly means I'll salvage the best I can from a tricky situation.
Yeah, I read that because when I looked up Sir Cadogan, that's what I saw, but I didn't know that it was like a...
It comes from the tale of Sir Cadogan and his brave assault against the Wyvern of Wye, which I think we talked about.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Maybe with the portraits or something.
Yeah.
And then here's a good one that is, again, one you wouldn't know because it's very specific. It's to have middle head. This is from Fantastic Beasts. Newt apparently made it up or something. It says it's coined by him. But the middle head refers to the middle head of a rune spore, which is known as the visionary of the creature's 3 heads. So you have Newt described Perpentia Goldstein as having middle head when she was the only Auror who did not wish to kill Credence.
Ooh.
So like middle, it's kind of like calmness or like or visionary, like you have some sort of instinct or like foresight that stops you from doing something. I thought it was pretty neat. I thought it was cool, like just coming up with phrases, because I've been doing that in my writing occasionally, like trying to like, so you can see most of the ones that are on there are just clear translations of like phrases that we have. So it's kind of neat.
I have 2 more Table of 13 instances in the Harry Potter series.
What?
Possibly.
2 more?
Possibly.
Oh my god!
I'm not
Something
sure
at
if
the
this
Order
is
of the
intentional.
Phoenix. I
Yes.
bet. Oh, is it serious?
In Chapter 5 of Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, 13 people dined together at 12 Grimmauld Place. So this says here Sirius was the first person to rise, but there was a comment back that possibly Molly was the first one. So I don't know if this one counts because there's like a moment
Well,
where
it
she
doesn't have
snaps
to
at
be true.
Sirius.
I
Yeah.
think that, yeah.
Yeah. And then one more is in book 7. 13 people were together at the Burrow after the Battle of the Seven Potters. Lupin left first, offering to go look for Moody's dead body. So this one, it's unclear if Lupin died before, because several people die
Before
who's at this
Fred.
table. Yeah, all of these, like,
Right.
yeah. So it's unclear if that's the case, but it is interesting that it could be something that's a thing, that's an intentional thing of like, I'm going to have 13
When it
people
comes
at
to
this
that
table.
scene, I always love that, like, I'm pretty sure that's Harry's first fire whiskey that he ever has. Yeah, there's something very touching about it. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of neat. I wouldn't even think about other instances. Yeah. I bet you that Lupin does die first in the like back, that it's never discussed, but like in J.K. Rowling's mind, I bet you that Lupin dies first, because I bet she knew that it was 13 people and was like, oh, I'm going to use this.
Yeah.
Because she probably wrote it here and was like, probably
Let's
thinking
bring
about
it back, yeah.
Scabbers. And
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. That one strikes me as possibly, that's difficult.
I don't know. The
'cause that would mean
Wizarding
she
World
would
website
know,
says it on there.
she would know that Derek lives for 3 more years.
Well, at least before Dumbledore dies. Like that's so Dumbledore is the first to die.
Yeah, no.
That.
Right.
So,
I'm
like,
saying that she would know 3 books ahead, like none of these characters are in danger.
They're kids.
Those
Minus
all
the teachers.
Professors. Yeah. Hagrid could die, or
Wow.
Snape, McGonagall.
Well,
yeah.
maybe.
No, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. It would be amazing.
Scabbers actually gets eaten by Crookshanks.
I bet if it is the case, she probably was like, okay, I had Dumbledore get up first because I know he's gonna die, and then I'll just make sure these other 12 make it through.
Maybe.
Yeah. That's why you asked me when Pettigrew died.
Yes.
Now I understand.
Yes.
Because you were like,
I wanted to double check because I was like, book 7,
like,
right?
wow, that's very yeah.
Yeah. The last thing I have for this dinner table is that Lupin is not at the table.
Yeah.
Because he's not feeling well.
Yeah.
Again.
Right.
And Dumbledore double checks on Snape and is like, you made him a potion, right? And he says, yes. So I wanted to double check because obviously we know. I'm going to say this out loud. This is a spoiler if you haven't read the books at all. Lupin is a werewolf. So
what?
Oh, sorry. I just blasted out the microphone. So Lupin is a werewolf and around the full moon. So I wanted to look up and see, like, okay, December 25th, 1993, was there a full moon?
And in Scotland?
In real life. So the full moon happened on December 28th.
In Scotland?
I don't know. I guess I didn't look specifically. I just Googled full moon for December 25th, 1993.
I've never actually looked it up. I'm trying to think about, like, if the full moon would be full everywhere.
Why wouldn't it? It's just a rotation, right? Or...
Yeah, no, I guess because it's the angle. It would be the angle of the sun. So, yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
So,
cool. The 28th.
The 28th.
So it could be in the lead up.
Yeah, so apparently the monthly, this was also from Wizarding World. The monthly transformation of a werewolf is extremely painful if untreated and is usually preceded and succeeded by a few days of pallor and ill health. So, because the other instance that I found of people talking about this was that apparently, and I didn't verify this, but apparently there was a full moon on the morning of September 1st. So when Lupin is like all tired and like whatever on the train, people think that he's like just drowsy and because of
I figured he was recovering. That makes sense.
Yeah,
cool.
That's pretty much all that I looked up.
Oh, okay, nice. Yeah, so that's good.
Oh, and then I just wrote Derek ?
Derek is also a werewolf. He has his own fanfic, I'm sure.
I need to know about Derek.
Because it's such a random
because it said
inclusion.
2 first years. I don't think it said a house for the 2 first years.
I don't know.
It said a 5th year Slytherin. So I want to know what happened to Derek. What did he do? Did he become Grim Folly? Like, I'm just kidding. He changed his name?
Derek says.
Just kidding. Actually, wouldn't oh wait, no, we're way too early because Grimm was in his second year when Harry was in his 7th year. Never mind.
Yeah.
Wizards Unite
Yeah.
connections. Trying.
We'll see in book 6 if we can spot Grim.
Yeah.
And then the end is just McGonagall
Oh
taking
man.
the broom
Poor Hermione.
away. Yeah, the
She's
upside
just
down
trying
book.
so hard. But she knows also, even though I've been skipping ahead, so like I know how she like confronts Harry more directly in book 5 about she knows
Mhm.
how Harry is. So
Harold.
and she also knows that Ron doesn't enable him, but he definitely is like Harry's big supporter. He's not gonna like he'll do as much to be like, all right, like he's getting out of hand. But for the most part, Ron is not like instinctually like suspicious of
A protector.
something like a broomstick, an expensive broomstick that comes out of nowhere on Christmas Day with no
Yeah,
note.
even if it occurred to him, he'd probably be like, it's a firebolt. It just locks in and flies Harry right to Sirius. Boom, Avada.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
End of story. Yeah, cool. So good chapter. A lot. It's kind of a big stretch of because it's like 3 separate scenes. So,
Yeah.
or even 4. So yeah, we're rocking. We're rolling. You got anything else?
Now that's all the nuts that I have. Until next time,
Wand's ready.